Honorable Prime Minister.
Thank you, ma'am.
Madam Speaker, I join all other members of this august House in conveying our very sincere thanks to the respected Rashtrapati Ji for a very thought-provoking address. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank the leader of the opposition, Shri L.K. Advani, other senior leaders, Mulayam Singh Ji, Lalu Prasad Ji, and many other distinguished personalities who have spoken on the address of the Honorable President. I sense an underlying sense of unity in what our republic is about, what are the tasks that lie ahead, and how we should go about in achieving those objectives. Advani ji said we should all work to make the 21st century India's century. This is an idea I have been saying for quite some time, whose time has come, and I said as early as 91, quoting Victor Hugo, that no power on earth can stop an idea whose time has come. And I sincerely believe that the emergence of India as a major powerhouse of the global economy and global polity happens to be one such idea whose time has come, and it is our privilege to contribute to the realization of this cherished goal of our country. The tone of speeches on all sides has been highly constructive, and I think that augurs well for our country. Starting with the unanimous selection of Honorable Speaker, followed by the unanimous election of Honorable Deputy Speaker, we have made a new beginning. It is my hope and prayer that we maintain that spirit of bipartisanship when it comes to dealing with vast number of national problems and concerns which we face as a country. Madam, the conduct of free and fair elections and the subsequent formulation and formation of the government are indeed a triumph for Indian democracy. We can take legitimate pride in our achievements. There were many people who believed that parliamentary democracy cannot succeed in a country as poor as India, that parliamentary democracy cannot succeed in a country where the voters are illiterate to such an extent as is the case in our country. We have seen people writing about it. I recall way back in the 60s, a correspondent of the New York Times, Sally Harrison, who was based in India, went back and wrote a book, India, the Most Dangerous Decade, predicting the demise of Indian Union by the end of the 70s. We have proved all these prophets of doom and gloom wrong, and our republic has shown the resilience to march ahead. Madam, I sincerely believe the social and economic transformation of India in the framework of a democratic polity, an open society, committed to the rule of law, committed to the respect for all fundamental human rights, is a development in world history which, if it succeeds, will have profound consequences for the processes of development in all countries of the third world. People marvel at a country of 1 billion people, characterized by vast diversity of languages spoken, characterized by diversity of religious belief and caste tensions, yet moving forward together is something which has earned our country deep admiration. At least that is what I have sensed in my 5 years as Prime Minister, as I traveled in various parts of the world. And it's our privilege and it's our bounden duty to strengthen the democratic foundations of our magnificent republic. There are tensions in the system, and while we congratulate ourselves, we must not lose sight of some manifest weaknesses. The growing use of money power in elections, muscle power. I think these are developments which need to be tackled if we have to maintain the health of our democratic polity. Also, if we have to succeed, it is necessary for us to take a firm pledge that we will not encourage groups and individuals who wish to divide our country on the basis of religion or caste. We should deal firmly with people who believe violence is the only way to achieve their objective. And finally, we must all be solemnly committed to ensuring that social and economic development, which is a must for a poor country, must benefit all sections of community, all states of the Union, all communities, and all persons. Laluji, I heard him referring to the special problems of Bihar. I assure him and I assure honorable members that the backward regions of our country, those which have been left behind in the race for development, will claim our prior attention as we deal with the challenges of development. There is one thing more that I wish to say. Democracy is a beautiful tree, but all modern democracies, under the pressure of competitive politics, tend to adopt a short-term perspective. Very often, longer-term concerns and issues do not get the attention that they deserve. We must have this long-term vision if India is to realize its development objective. I sincerely hope that we will have that vision, that will, and the courage to address some of these longer-term concerns as a befitting tribute to the founding fathers of our republic who gave us this magnificent Constitution of India. Madam, the mandate that our government has received, and we accept it in all humilities. There's no scope for bragging. We recognize that this mandate casts heavy responsibility on all of us to give our country a strong, purposeful government, a stable government, a government committed to the pursuit of inclusive development process. And we have, as the President herself has acknowledged in her gracious address, this is an agenda which will keep us all busy every day of the next 5 years. The mandate, therefore, is a mandate for stability, of change with continuity, commitment to inclusive growth, equitable development, and commitment to the preservation and protection of a secular and plural India. Madam, we will consolidate our efforts in each of these fronts, and the President's speech has outlined the direction we intend to pursue. We will further strengthen our flagship programs for employment, education, rural and agricultural development, health, and improve the delivery of public services through greater transparency and accountability. We are aware that though much ground has been covered, a lot more remains to be done. We will spare no effort in accelerating the speed of our work. Madam, in this gigantic task, I recognize that no development agenda can succeed if the center and the states and now the third-tier Panchayati Raj institution work in a spirit of collaboration, in a spirit of harmony. Madam, you have my assurance in dealing with states, in dealing with Panchayati Raj institutions, we will operate strictly on the basis of objectivity. No discrimination will be done against any state which may not be governed by the parties which are in power in Delhi. That's a commitment I give, and I call upon all chief ministers to work together in the National Development Council to earnestly implement the vast development and inclusive development agenda that the President has placed before our people. Madam, I should say a few words about the strategies and programs that the President in her speech has referred to. What is our fundamental task as a government? I've always believed, and here I draw inspiration from the founding fathers of our republic, Mahatma Gandhi, Jawaharlal ji, Indira ji, Rajiv ji, who have always emphasized that our freedoms will be incomplete so long as there is mass poverty in our country. It was the dream of the father of our nation, Mahatma Gandhi, to wipe out tears from the eyes of each and every individual in our country. that is an ambition which we may not be able to fulfill, but that's the inspiration which should and which will guide our government in its quest for giving our people a life of dignity and self-respect. To achieve our social objectives, and development is meaningless if our people suffer from ill health, if our people are illiterate, if the environment protection measures are not in place, if the degradation of land and water resources of our country, the river resources of our country goes unchecked. And therefore, we commit ourselves to this inclusive vision for development, where the fruits of development will be equitably shared, where all individuals in our magnificent republic would get an equal chance to fulfill their ambitions. It is not easy, but I am convinced that education, health, environment protection are the means through which we can help our people to improve the quality of their living. But all this requires resources, and money does not grow on tree. If we have to invest in our flagship programs, then we need a lot more resources, an expanding pool of resources. Fortunately, in the last 5 years, our economy managed to grow at the rate of 8.6%. That benefited our revenues enormously. We were able to expand the resource flows for agriculture, for rural development, for education, for health, for environment protection. More recently, particularly in the last 1 year, because of the international slowdown, our economy has been affected. Our growth rate, which was about 9% annual growth in the previous 4 years, has declined to about 7%. We live in an increasingly interdependent economy, world economy, and I cannot promise you that we will not be affected by global events. But I am convinced, since our savings rate is as high as 35%, given collective will, if all of us work together, we can achieve a growth rate of 8 to 9%, even if the world economy does not do well. This year, we will maintain at least a 7% growth rate. In the short run, we can't do better, but this is not good enough. And therefore, the ambition that our government has is that notwithstanding developments in the global economy, our country must have the resilience to so manage its affairs that it grows at the annual rate of 8 to 9%. And I am convinced it can be done with the cooperation of all sections of this august House. And that will be the direction in which we will be moving. I recognize that fiscal system is under strain. The fiscal deficit has increased, but I do believe that in the short run, even then, we have maneuverability to spend more resources on our flagship programs, and I sincerely believe that Honorable Finance Minister, when he presents his budget, will unfold the government strategy in this regard. But as I said, we cannot spend our way into prosperity, though in the present situation there is considerable scope to increase public expenditure, particularly on infrastructure projects, and that would not lead to inflation, that would only add to our development growth potential, and I think that's the right way to deal with the effects of slowdown, international slowdown that has affected many, many countries in the world. Madam, economy is an interlocking management of a vast country like India. There are international factors which affect us, but there are also developments in security matters which also can derail the development process. If terrorism is uncontrolled, if left-wing extremism continues to flourish in important parts of our country which have tremendous resources, natural resources of minerals and other precious things, that will certainly affect the climate for investment. So therefore, as a government, we are committed to doing all that is in power to ensure that the terrorist elements are brought under control, and that's why the President talked about the zero tolerance for terrorism. In the same way, in dealing with left-wing extremism, we have to convince our misguided youth that violence at the gun is no way of solving any problems, that our democratic polity gives you the scope, the ballot, through the ballot, to express your concerns. And we have seen in the past that rebels of yesterday ended up as rulers. And that's the beauty of our republic, beauty of our democratic polity. So we have to operate on two fronts in dealing with these extremist elements. We cannot allow violence to be used as an instrument of getting their results. At the same time, we recognize that there is a climate in which violence flourishes, and it should be our objective to ensure that the people are not carried away by economic and social discontent to join the ranks of the affected people. And that's why walking on two legs, firm resolve to see that the law and order is maintained, simultaneously a firm commitment to ensuring that the gains of development do reach to the disadvantaged sections of our society, particularly those living in the tribal areas. I am conscious of the fact that the tribal population in our countries have not got a fair deal. The way we administer tribal areas, the way we send officers who are disinterested to work in these difficult tribal areas, the flow of resources is not properly monitored. There is no proper guidance in the spending of resources. I think the whole development strategy for tribal areas in central India at least requires a fresh look. I promise that our government will do all that is possible to bring the tribal communities of our country into the national mainstream. We have taken some steps in the last 5 years. The Forest Dwellers Act, which confers rights on forest dwellers, is a step in that direction. But I do recognize much more needs to be done on the economic and social front to contain discontent in the tribal areas, which often leads to nationalism or left-wing extremism. Madam, in his speech, the Honorable Leader of the Opposition, Shri L.K. Advani, mentioned that the centre has been blamed for certain lapses by the Commission of Inquiry set up by the Maharashtra government in connection with the terrorist attack in Mumbai on November 26. As members of Parliament are aware, Madam, the government of Maharashtra had set up a 2-member commission of inquiry to inquire into the events on that day and the manner in which the state government had responded to the attack. I understand that the Commission of Inquiry has submitted its report to the state government. The state government would no doubt be tabling the report in the Maharashtra legislature, together possibly with an action taken report. It is not possible, therefore, to comment at this stage on the contents of the report of the Commission of Inquiry before the report is formally tabled on the floor of the state legislature. I shall therefore refrain from commenting on the inferences drawn by the Honorable Leader of the Opposition about a report that is yet to be placed on the floor of the State Assembly. Madam, I would, however, like to inform the House about the several steps that have been taken since November 2008 to further tighten the vigilance against future terrorist attacks of this nature. As members are aware, the perpetrators of the November 26 attack came by sea. We were all aware of our vulnerability to such attacks from this quarter, and had already taken a number of steps, but obviously these were inadequate. A massive effort has hence been undertaken to streamline our maritime security, which included the setting up of a maritime command under the Coast Guard with overall responsibility vested in our Navy. On shore, we have increased the number of marine police stations to supplement the efforts of the Coast Guard and the Navy. There have been several other steps that have been taken, but I shall enumerate only a few. Improvements in intelligence sharing is one. A multi-agency center has been fully energized and subsidiary multi-agency centers constituted in more states. The process will be completed shortly. A net-centric information command structure is being put in place to achieve online transfer of all actionable intelligence in a streamlined manner. Generation of actionable intelligence has simultaneously been given priority and measures put in place for this purpose. Technical innovation and technical support to intelligence production has been given the highest priority. Steps have also been taken to improve the quality of intelligence analysis. Investigation into serious terrorist offenses will from now on be the responsibility of the newly constituted National Investigation Agency. Additional legal measures taken include, apart from the new National NIA Act, significant amendments to the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act, the Home Minister is in constant dialogue with the Chief Ministers of State, keeping them informed of specific aspects of the two new pieces of legislation. Madam, following the terrorist attack in Mumbai on November 26, the imperative necessity to have dedicated counter-terrorist forces has been further reinforced. The National Security Guard is the principal counter-terrorist force in the country. A major effort has been made to improve its capabilities, including better mobility and state-of-the-art equipment. At least 4 new NSG hubs are being set up in different parts of the country. In addition, certain other dedicated counter-terrorist forces are sought to be created. Madam, it goes without saying that the challenges of the troubled times that we live in terms of security of our nation, and the unique opportunities within our reach for the well-being of our people, both enjoin us to work together for common goals. I am grateful to the leaders of the opposition who have offered their support on both these counts. I consider it the duty of my government to build on this unity of purpose. I have always felt that our differences will melt away when we consider the overwhelming nature of the challenge that our country faces. Madam, I should like to say a few words about our relations with our neighbors. We are living in a neighborhood of great turbulence. And I have always believed India cannot realize its ambitions unless there is peace and prosperity in South Asia as a whole. And if our neighborhood is suffering from instability, turbulence, that has a direct bearing on our own evolution as a democratic polity committed to sustained growth and development. I have therefore a vision for a transformed South Asia, where with the cooperation of all our neighbors, we move from poverty to prosperity, from ignorance to a knowledge society, and from insecurity to lasting peace. What is at stake is the future of 1.5 billion people living in South Asia. I believe it is in our vital interest, therefore, to try again to make peace with Pakistan. But I recognize it takes 2 hands to clap. There are some disturbing trends, but I do hope the government of Pakistan will create an atmosphere in which we can realize this vision. I expect the government of Pakistan to take strong, effective, and sustained action to prevent the use of their territory for the commission of acts of terrorism in India or against Indian interests, and use every means at their disposal to bring to justice those who have committed these crimes in the past, including the attack on Mumbai. I believe that such actions will be welcomed by the people of both countries. If the leaders of Pakistan have the courage, the determination, and statesmanship to take this road to peace, I wish to assure them that we will meet them more than halfway. I should say a few words about Sri Lanka. We have centuries-old ties with the people of Sri Lanka, and we have a deep and abiding interest in the well-being of the Tamil people in that country. The Tamil problem is larger than the LTT, and I sincerely hope that the Sri Lankan government will show imagination and courage in meeting the legitimate concerns and aspirations of the Tamil people to live their lives as equal citizens and with dignity and self-respect. We have been taking an active part in the relief and rehabilitation of the internally displaced persons in Sri Lanka, and have already earmarked rupees 500 crore for this purpose. We are willing to do more to restore normalcy and to return such people to their rightful homes and occupation. In this House, as well as in the other House, members have expressed concerns about the developments in Australia. Madam, Australia has emerged as a major destination for Indian students. I have been, like many other members who have spoken in this House, I have been appalled by the senseless violence and crime, some of it racially motivated, against our students in Australia. I propose to engage the authorities in Australia in a high-level dialogue with a view to taking stock of the situation and to providing adequate security for Indian students. Madam, I have already spoken to Prime Minister Rudd of Australia on this subject. He assured me that any racist attacks on Indian students would be strongly dealt with. He made a statement in Parliament in which he condemned and deplored the attacks and said they were unacceptable. He emphasized that Australia is a multicultural nation which respects and embraces diversity. He said that these would be countered with the full force of the law. Madam, I don't wish to underplay the anxiety of parents of our students, but I wish to request the media to be mindful of the fact that there are over 200,000 Australian citizens of Indian origin. We should be mindful of their interests and avoid willy-nilly creating a situation where these citizens of Australia of Indian origin become the target of racist intolerance. India and Australia have very good relations, and it has been our effort to widen and deepen these ties in the last 5 years. Madam, I should say a few words about our relations with China. Honorable members have raised the issue of our relations with China, and I should say that China is our strategic partner. We have a multifaceted relationship with China. There is enough space, I have said so often, for both China and India to develop and contribute to global peace, stability, and prosperity. We do not see relations with China in antagonistic terms. We have a large trading relationship. We consult each other on global issues, whether in the G20 process of climate change or terrorism, and we share a common commitment to maintain peace and tranquility on the border. There are, of course, issues which are complex, such as the boundary question. But we have agreed upon mechanism to address this matter. We wish to build a strong and stable relationship with China. This is in the mutual interest of both our countries. I have been assured by the Chinese leadership, and I have interacted with them extensively in the last 5 years, and they have assured me that they also subscribe to the views I have expressed just now. But whether it is China or any country, we will ensure the territorial integrity and unity of our country and protect our security interests in every manner necessary. The House should have no misgiving on that score. Madam, the President's address has covered a vast territory. I couldn't do justice to all the points that have been raised, but as I listened to the debate, I was struck by an underlying sense of unity on all sides that India should move forward as a united nation to achieve its coveted place in the Committee of Nations. That is a mandate for change, mandate for inclusive development, a mandate to strengthen the secular foundations of our magnificent republic. It is to these tasks that I commit our government, and I invite all honorable members to join me in passing this motion of thanks unanimously.
Thank you.